In cities across Canada, a place to live is hard to find. And with more of us searching and less housing that's actually affordable being built, rents are skyrocketing. That's why my research focuses on the approach to rental housing of 15 Canadian cities. And I work alongside Dr. Ren Thomas on this. In the first stages of our research, we analyzed city policies, surveyed 102 planners, and held 2 workshops. Based on feedback, we developed 11 indicators that we believe aid in preserving and creating rental housing in cities. What we know from this is that finding a place to rent in some cities can be a nightmare. That organizations recognize a need to develop more rental housing, but face several barriers, including a lack of access to funding and an inability to compete with firms looking to do other projects that have a higher return on the investment. That renters are vulnerable to shifts in a decrease in available units or hikes in rents that may happen due to a lack of adequate policy protection. So while cities attempt to figure out what to do, renters are suffering from the indecisiveness or in some cases inaction. Now this isn't to point fingers or lay blame. Getting housing right is complicated. Our work is to understand the inner workings of these approaches and the potential for cities to learn from each other. We determined that the effectiveness of policies and tools used, the level of cooperation amongst organizations, and the public support for rental development are key factors in successful rental housing provision. Our next step of this research is to explore its transferability potential. Essentially, how do we get this information to those groups and organizations who are interested in this work, but may not necessarily have the time to conduct a case study on their city, but want to learn from other cities? So this would be in the form of a self-run workshop module with necessary background information to guide that group through an evaluation of their city's approach. And this would be very similar to the workshops that we ran. The goal is to make it easily accessible so that it can be used for first identifying and then working on the strengths and weaknesses of a city's approach. It boils down to this. Cities have to get serious about committing to providing housing if there's any chance of all Canadians living in homes that meet their needs and are affordable by 2030. And this isn't a personal goal. It's one set by the Canadian government. It's 10 years away, and given the year that we've had, it may already be seeing some setbacks. With the impact of COVID-19, homelessness is rising in several cities, as not enough was done to adequately protect persons from fallouts like the impact on rent payments due to job loss. Renters whose housing can be precarious are more likely to be amongst the newly houseless. They couldn't benefit from policies like mortgage freezes, and as the winter months approach, may now literally be out in the cold. Our goal is to add a framework for evaluation that would help to increase the availability of rental housing. And if all Canadians are to be securely homed by 2030, there is a need for a collective re-evaluation of our approach to housing. And it has to start with our cities.